Taking a look at the Indianapolis Colts today, I'm Jason Gilbo here at Fantasy Football Cafe. Should be another fantastic year for fantasy for Andrew Luck and company. You gotta like what they added in on offense. Frank Gore, Andre Johnson. Johnson's like 34 years old coming in. Still, you gotta like him. Should put up close to 80 receptions, see some targets. They're definitely a step up from Houston last season. Colts put up massive numbers last year in the passing game. Had zero running game whatsoever, but now adding Frank Gore should change that just a little bit, and bringing in Andre Johnson is going to just build to an already enormous amount of receiving core they have. It's been an all-out aerial attack for a long time in Indy. The Luck era has not changed whatsoever since Manning. He threw the most attempts in the NFL last season, ranked second in offensive plays, seventh in yards per play. So really, passing game, zero concern for me. But my really only concern there is with the targets in general. Looking at the tight end position, you got Dwayne Allen, Coby Fleener. Two tight ends, both capable of cutting into each other's workload. But I think Fleener kind of emerges as the number one target, but not great enough for me to really draft him. There's just other guys I'd rather take. And they drafted another wide receiver, which as an Indy fan myself, I'm pretty pissed about. We do not need another wide receiver. The defense has been the biggest issue. So Dorsett's going to come in and just add to a core that already features Hilton, Andre Johnson, and Dante Moncrief. So a lot of mouths to feed there. The Colts have not had a run game since Edgerrin James or really Joseph Adai. You could throw his name in there too. Frank Gore's not going to be relied upon a ton. Going to be definitely a short yardage guy, moving the chains. I can't really see them feeding him a ton. Could get some nice touches out of the backfield in the receiving game, so I like that there. But you as well could see Frank Gore take some targets away from the tight ends in the red zone, which wasn't the case last year, except when Ahmad Bradshaw was there and healthy. So we could be playing fantasy roulette with the Colts and targets each week. I very well think that could be the case. T.Y. Hilton, likely your elite option out of the group. Him and Luck have a nice connection. Should lead the core in targets. Andre Johnson stands a chance to be a nice fantasy wide receiver, but I think he's actually kind of overvalued slightly, although the hype has kind of come down a little bit here as we've drifted into a draft season. 34 years old. You do like the shift change from the Houston Texans, so I'm not kicking myself if I don't get him, but I think he is a decent wide receiver too at the most there. I'm just going to be staying away from the tight ends altogether, adding in Gore. I think there's just better options late. Kyle Rudolph, Tyler Eifert, a couple of Notre Dame guys there. And Vernon Davis is my rebound pick for 2015, so I really like him late. And Zach Ertz has been floating farther and farther down in drafts from what I've seen. He's supposed to be ready by the time the season starts there, so I definitely think you can take other guys other than those two in Indy. Keeping it simple with Luck, you know what he's going to give us. He's on par with Aaron Rodgers as a fantasy quarterback, except with a couple more interceptions. Well, probably 15 more interceptions with how Rodgers plays. Last year Luck floated around the mid-rounds. I think people weren't exactly sold on him. That's not the case this year. He's going to be drafted fairly high. So looking at the run game real quick, Frank Gore, not a big focal point. But like I said, I like, I favor the Colts offense a little heavier than the Niners. I think you could see 8 to 9 combined touchdowns on the ground and in the air from Gore, just with the amount of points they're going to score, kind of setting the bar like how Bradshaw did last season. But you could also see Haran there, the other back, come out in passing situations too. So, Gore's going to be a nice RB2, I think, but not my favorite. Colts, the defense presents a couple streaming options, of course, playing against the Titans and the Jaguars and the Texans. 6 times against those teams and the youth and quarterbacks there. You're going to find some streaming options that week. Their secondary is still an issue. Pass rush was on and off last season, so I still think it's a bottom offense, but they do have some upside on some weeks. I think the Colts, they're a lot to process. It looks like a big fantasy gold mine, but if you compare them to another high-powered offense like the Packers bring top 10 guys to the table in each position. I can't really say the same for the Colts outside of Luck. So you can't really compare the two. It's just a lot to go on in Indy. I just don't think they bring as much to the table as the Packers do with each position, but still, Luck, Hilton are my top two guys there, with other ones kind of floating around in the next tier. That's really the story in Indy.